Good evening, Professor Lewis. My name is Zachary Crane, and I'm here to give my persuasive speech. I have my 5 audience members. Say hi, everyone.
Hi. Oh, hello.
They're all there. They're all very excited. So I'm gonna about to start my clock here and pull up my notes. Just one moment. And here we go. Good evening, my name is Zachary Crane, and I'm here to do a speech for you on the organization Charity Water. Now, before I begin, I would like to at least grab a drink of water because I myself am dying of thirst.
So funny.
But you see, for me, getting this drink of water was very easy. I had to get a glass, fill it up from the sink, and trust that this water is not contaminated nor unhealthy. But for many, that is not the case. My purpose in this speech is to convince you as an organization that the greatest need that you should attribute your funds to is the global safe drinking water cause, particularly through the company Charity Water. Now, I know there's hesitancy, and I'm sure some of you are where I was before I started doing research. Yes, we know this is an issue. We know that many developing countries are struggling with water, but people are already at work, so what's one more donation or one more contribution going to do? Well, first, let's look at the statistics and the analysis of the lack of safe drinking water. Now, water.org reports that nearly 780 million people without safe drinking water. But the real question behind that is, what is safe drinking water? Well, obviously, non-contaminated. They continue to say that nearly 3.4 million people die each year of a water-related disease. In fact, the UN reports that every 20 seconds a child dies of poor sanitation, the main component of this being unsafe water. That's because, according to the book Guidelines for Drinking Water Equality, most contaminated water sources contain microbiological organisms that help spread pathogens and viruses. And as viruses get spread through people through communities, and communities through countries. The risk of getting a waterborne infection also increases with the usage of more contaminated water. This means that the more the individuals use this already poor and deficient water, the more likely they are to get a very bad disease, and ultimately, and very likely, die. So this is more than just taking a glass of water. For many people in undeveloped countries, they not only drink, but defecate and even swim in the same source of water. R.G. Sinclair in his article talks heavily about the correlation between waterborne disease and recreational activities, confirming that the more you spend time in that water, the more likely you are to get an infection. In some countries, this is to a breaching point. In places like Bangladesh, they've had to find alternative sources for water. Why? Because so much of the water there is laced with arsenic to the point that 1/5 of the population dies from arsenic poisoning in water, according to Jennifer Nauman in her article about arsenal safe drinking water. So let's put this in perspective. Clearly, we know as regular people that this is a need. But what can we do about it? Can helping one organization really fulfill that need? Well, let me tell you about Charity Water. Charity Water was founded by Scott Harrison, a former party guru in New York City. One night, and for many nights, he felt spiritually empty and decided to try the opposite living. He traveled to a poor country and found a deep burning desire to pursue water for those who are in need. And his whole organization is founded on this principle. But what's so great about his company? Well, Charity Water donates 100% of public donations to the project itself. They partner with people all across the globe with 22 different partners who help run the procedures on the ground level, digging new freshwater wells, rainwater catchments, and sand filters. But again, we could stop here and I could say I'm done. But what's one single step? One single step is one donation. As Benjamin Franklin wrote in Poor Richard's Almanac, when the well is dry, we know the worth of water. So let me ask you this. Would this situation, would our emotions and our concern for these people change if it was our families, our communities, our children and those around us dying of cancer or other water-related diseases? If our lives are being cut short by this very situation, would we have a different attitude? Well, let's talk about Camp Lejeune, which is a military base in North Carolina. In 1950 to 1980 at this military base, they had poorly and highly contaminated water, to the point that hundreds and thousands of people, soldiers, and their families were affected. One of the persons who brought this to trial is Jerry Ensminger, who tells the story of his daughter who died of leukemia at 9 years old. In her last words, she said, "Daddy, I love you." And he responded, "Honey, I love you too. Now please, stop fighting." If we could continue that even further, let's look at what Christ's example. As a Christian organization, our goal is to reflect Christ. When Christ talks about about those who are on his left and on his right, he says, "For I was hungry, and you gave me no food. I was thirsty, and you gave me no drink." The time has passed us long enough to stand idle by, and as we look to the future, especially in light of the God who we serve, what could possibly sway us from remembering Christ's mission to love and serve one another? Let me wrap up and conclude with these final thoughts. We've sat and we've discussed the impending need for water, for clean water, for safe water for those who don't have any. And I want to remind you of those statistics. 3.4 million people die every single year because of poorly contaminated water. 20 seconds, every 20 seconds, someone dies because of poor sanitation. We've examined the potential for how close this can hit home within a camp like Camp Lejeune, where thousands and thousands have died because of this terrible water. And we found a very good, as well as there are many other sources to contribute our funds to, an organization like Charity Water. So I want to conclude with this final statement from the book Water Policy. It says, governments, international aid agencies, non-governmental organizations, and the like should work to provide all humans with a basic requirement and guarantee that water as a human right, that water is a human right. By acknowledging a human right to water and expressing the willingness to meet this right for those currently deprived of it, the water community would have a useful tool for addressing one of the most fundamental failures of 20th century development. What greater group can you support than those in need of water? A very reflection of the living water of Jesus Christ. Thank you. All right, Professor Lewis, that was 6 minutes and about 52 seconds, so I'm under time. And I'm going to turn this all off here. So thank you.